My name is Kevin Bingham.
Where do you live?
In Detroit, Michigan.
What do you do?
I'm an arborist as well as a tinkerer and an inventor.
Name 2 or 3 people that have been major influences in your life. And tell us why.
In the terms of arboriculture or just in general?
Just in general.
Well, outside of my parents, I'd suppose George McLeod would be somebody who was a father of a friend of mine, and he was a Scottish man who had lived in Antarctica and climbed Everest before people climbed Everest, and had been all over the world. And he took us out when we were young and showed us how to be comfortable outside and climb rocks and enjoy it. And so he was a pretty big influence in my life.
Cool. Anybody else?
In arboriculture, I would say my biggest influence would be Will Blozen, who's an arborist in North Carolina, who both an amazing climber as well as passionate lover of trees, and he took me up my first, well, it was a really tall hemlock tree, 170-foot hemlock tree on the border of North Carolina and South Carolina, and he just, he really gave me the idea that arboriculture can be a fulfilling and wonderful career, and yeah.
Awesome. What do you eat in a given day?
For breakfast, I have oatmeal quite a bit, eggs, lots of eggs. For lunch, I sometimes eat crap, chips and hamburgers and just horrible things. But sometimes I manage to pull off packing myself a really healthy lunch. My wife has a beautiful garden, so during the summer we eat vegetables pretty much as much as we can. So.
If for some reason you could not physically do tree work anymore, what would you do?
I would probably do woodworking, and well, just making things in general I've found is really pretty incredible experience. So making wood shelves and tables and chairs, and I've recently started working with metal a little bit and finding that you can make stuff with metal and plastic, and so I'd probably just make stuff.
What is Kevin Bingham afraid of?
Oh gosh, all kinds of things. Death and failure, and the normal things I guess people are afraid of. Sickness, falling.
So we know you do your tinkering, you do your tree work. Other than the money, what's the reason for you? What's the takeaway? Other
than the money? Well, I'd say everything. Climbing trees and being outside is just such a great pleasure. If I were to pick a job, I wouldn't pick tree work. But as a life, it's a great way to live. So.
What's the last movie you saw in a theater?
Man. I'm blanking on that one. It's been a while.
In terms of your arborist career, what's your biggest regret? What would you change?
In terms of all the trees that I murdered for no good reason. For money and a job, and I work on changing that every day. So, yeah.
Tell us about your hobbies outside of your career.
Basketball, I guess career climbing would be part of my career. So outside of that, I mean, well, in woodworking, that's kind of part of my career. Two hobbies. Basketball is not associated with climbing very much. Cross country skiing, or well, that's what I've been doing recently in the snow. But swimming is fun. Yeah, I guess I'm happy doing physical activities of most. Ball playing in general, soccer, football, all of it, baseball. It's fun.
Have you had any near misses in your arborist career? Tell us about one of those experiences.
Well, I've had two really scary times where, one where I nearly killed myself and another where I nearly killed my groundsman. The one where I nearly killed myself, I was in a tree that was too big for my skill level at the time. Massive oak leaning over a house this way, and cutting a big block of wood, and I was working contracting, which I probably didn't have the skill level to shouldn't have even been subcontracting, but they had me up this tree and they threw a rope around we'll pull it off. So I made my cut just, I think I don't even remember if I put a front, anyway, I cut all the way through the log, which was probably that tall, but big. It's probably wasn't that big, but in my head it's that big. But anyway, I cut through and they couldn't pull it off. And I was underneath it like this over the house, and it was sliding toward me, and I ended up holding it with my hands so it wouldn't slide because it was on a tilt. And if I couldn't really get out of the way because so I was pushing and pushing and pushing like this, and they were pulling and pulling, but they didn't have any leverage to pull it off. And I basically was screaming to put it on the truck or something, and so I'm holding this thing that was like, if I let it go, I couldn't move to get it even out the way because it would, I would have had to like, and it was either coming in my lap, going on the rope, or they were going to figure out a way to pull it off, and they ended up backing the truck up to it and throwing some kind of knot to knot to knot, and like they were in the middle of the road, like burning rubber and this thing. I'm like, "Arr!" And finally it went, missed the house and it missed me. And, yeah, and then to top it off, we cut the spar and we left it a little bit too long and it busted a big pad of concrete.
All right, something simpler: steel or husky?
Steel.
Steel. What kind of music do you listen to, Kevin?
I'm lazy with music. I just listen to whatever's on. I listen to pretty much every station on the radio or Pandora. There's some good songs out there that I like, but I don't really put too much energy. I wish sometimes I did like really put more energy into my music, because I don't know, I would be more. And my brother-in-law, he knows he knows all the music in the world, and it's great. Okay, but I don't know.
Do you one-hand a chainsaw?
Yeah, I got a MS-150, and I just can't help it. I was really good at not ever one-handing a chainsaw, or I'd broken the habit. I was out of it completely. And I got this stupid, well, it's an excellent saw, but I ended up finding it's easy to one hand.
All right,
so I can't say that I don't.
People have been watching for a long time. I'm pretty sure they want to hear about this blue thing in front of us. Tell us what this is.
This is the rope runner. It's a mechanical friction hitch designed for SRT use. You can use it in a dynamic single line way, but it's meant to go up and down a line. I The way I look at it is basically it's a hitch tied with metal. That's a mechanical hitch. But in the process of developing it, there's quite a few combinations that you can do. This is the one that I found to work quite well. You have a pulley underneath it, so you have your tending. Some people climb with this sort of motion, and that pulley really is nice for those type of climbers. It ascends very, very smoothly. The descent, I think people used to a friction hitch will find it a little bit not as natural as a friction hitch. I'm a huge fan of a rope friction hitch because of how much you have control over it. This you have a little bit less, but you have some trade-off between you have very little sit back, and you can climb without having to tinker with your hitch too much. So there's some benefits, and it's no friction hitch that we're used to. Where a cordage friction hitch is something very personal, and everybody that I know, every climber I know, has a slightly different style of tying a friction hitch.
How long have you been working on the rope runner project?
Well, really, I could consider this sort of part of the progression of my climbing. I've started off with the Fate revolver, moving away from a traditional double. I started with the Fate revolver, and then found the rope wrench. And the rope wrench is, as you can see, there's elements of the rope wrench in the rope runner along in this piece up here. It creates a very similar action. What I wanted to do, a lot of people, the way the runner got started actually is that I received a lot of feedback for the rope wrench, which is very dependent on the hitch for its function, and people wanted me to, give them basically tie their hitch for them and just give them a whole package. And that's something I was very uncomfortable doing. I worked on a lot of different things and how you could package the rope wrench as one set with the hitch tied on the rope, but I realized as soon as anybody opened the package and took the hitch off the rope, it wasn't going on the same way. And if you climb 3 times on hitch cord, it's not the same hitch cord it came with. If you climb, if you climb in the rain, it's not the same. And I felt very uncomfortable with the thought of trying to tie that package all together using cordage and knots, which I don't think anybody can, really, you can't put a certification on a knot. And it's something that's left up to people's skill. So the only solution I had really was to go with the mechanical route, and that sort of evolved based off of the gear that I play with all kinds of gear, and just playing around with different combinations, trying it with a lock jack. For instance, I tied there's the hitchhiker, obviously, and people will see that there's some influences from Paul Cox's genius device, the hitchhiker, where he has a slot. So we basically, me and the guys that I work with, kind of just looked for something that was a full package.
And you have a multi-million-dollar singing tree testing and development facility that I've heard about, correct?
We have
3 jobs in the garage.
Well, we have basically 3 guys that we do tree work pretty much every day, and we go out and climb, and I give the guys things to climb on. They give me feedback, and I actually climbed on this device myself every day for over a year before I even gave it to my employees.
On parts that you had cut yourself?
Yeah, the first one was cut with a Sawzall.
And then we graduated to
a water jet, and The one that's going to be made will be stamped and machined by a professional manufacturing company.
Very cool. Tell us a little bit about your family.
Well, my immediate family, I'm married to a beautiful woman, and we have a daughter who is 1.5 years. And yeah, it's the best thing in the whole world. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think that's pretty much everything. Is there anything you want to say to your viewers, supporters, fans, people that are climbing on your devices all across the world?
Well, you guys are amazing. It definitely, none of this could happen without hearing from other climbers, and the response that I've gotten from people is both negative and positive, has been really, really critical to this whole process. So I love meeting all these people, and just tree climbers and climbers in general, because I feel like we're all of the same. Somehow we got some DNA. We're like cousins and brothers, sisters, everything. Love you. And I get to interview Kevin Bingham.